Hi folks, we're back, cutting through the matrix. I always think of Charles Galton Darwin, descendant of Charles Galton, and the Darwins, because they combined the families, of course, was into eugenics, but some of them became scientists, and Charles Galton Darwin worked on the Manhattan Project to blow up people. He didn't like people very much. He wanted to kill an awful lot of people off, especially the kind he thought were the unfit and the poor, and so on. And he wrote a book about it called The Next Million Years. Very good book to get a hold of, and he outlined the elite's viewpoints and how they saw the ordinary people and how they foresaw the future, causing lots of problems for the elites by all the masses down below outbreeding them at the top. And he gave forth his various plans to alter that status, and part of it was to do with dosing the ordinary population with excess hormones, which would alter the male and the female and make the males more compliant, although it could make the females more aggressive. And I'll be touching on that tonight. He also talked about other ways, too, of killing off and sterilizing the populations. But he also said a real truth. These guys tell you an awful lot of truth as well at the same time, as far as how they see the world and what they want to do. And people like Charles Galton Darwin, of course, belong to the Royal Society that all top scientists must belong to. You simply must belong to it, or you're sold last century. That's how it goes. And of course, you're nobody, in other words, unless you join it. And it's a Masonic group, actually, of scientists that was chartered by the Crown. So the Crown, of course, are the head of Masonry, supposedly for England. At least the Duke of Kent was always the top honcho for that. But Charles Galton Darwin did say that he says there's always been slavery in one form or another. And he was talking about the feudal ages and coming up for the Western countries, coming up into this new so-called democracy, which is a wage slave, of course, where the state is still in control of you on behalf of the same people, and they tax back from you using a thing called money, all the stuff that they used to take back in hay and farming animals and vegetables and stuff. That's what they used to do, because the serfs served the public. They served the big castle. They supplied the local lord with all his produce for his army and so on. And the excess was sold off, sometimes even abroad, although the farmers got nothing back in that at all. They just got 60% or so of their produce taken from them. And it's the same today when about 60% of your taxes is taken from you. So nothing really changes. But when he said there's always been slavery in one form or another, he says we're in the process. And he should know, since he belonged to all the world meetings, societies and think tanks. He says we're in the process of creating a more sophisticated form of slavery. And if you wonder what that is, look around you. Look at the tubs that used to be people walking around with all their genetically modified food inside them. They used to say that you are what you eat, and it's definitely more apparent now than ever before, because we're being bioengineered. And as I say, Galton Darwin did go into the bioengineering of people, and you are definitely seeing the outcome of it today. The body can't cope with all these oils and GM stuff and so on. They can't cope with it at all, and it plasters it down all over the body as fat, and it can't get rid of it. It doesn't know how to turn it back into the various sugars and burn it off. So that's how it is. We're under a form of warfare, of course, because we're really being brought into a new type of slavery, a more scientifically designed slave, you might say. And I've also got one here too I want to put up tonight on eggs. They're actually in artificial insemination now. They've got a process where they actually put a barcode on the ovum. Isn't that nice? Isn't it nice, eh? Now we can tell who's going to be who when they genetically enhance or modify you, as I like to call it. I'll put that link up as well for you to see how far they're going with all of this. And believe you me, that's only what we're allowed to know, which isn't much at all. Let's say we're mushrooms. We're kept in the dark and fed you know what. Anyway, now I'll make amendment too to that fertilized egg. It's a fertilized egg for women now. So it's little Johnny or little Jenny who's been enhanced, or believe you me, that's what they do there. They're taking genes out and putting other ones in when you get artificial insemination. If you didn't know it by now, I'm telling you, just let you know. Now you do know. It isn't. There's a lot of experiments going on with you and what you think are your children. And they follow them down through their life to see if they produce the kind of a person they want, the ideal citizen. Not too aggressive and all that kind of stuff, kind of placid, goes along with everything, doesn't mind paying taxes and stuff like that. So it's literally a fertilized egg with barcodes on it. That's the new you. That's the world of the future, for those that don't know it. Interesting, eh? But we are certainly going along into this totalitarian system at a clip, and a fast clip. Now, the US, I'll put a link up to where you'll see as a video, I think, where the feds in the US are using the mobile X-ray vans on travelers, traffic at the side of the road. They're actually X-raying you in your car. So if you're not getting enough dose, if you're trying to avoid flying to escape all the X-ray effects to your body, forget it. They're doing it to you on the roads now. And of course, there's no permission given to that for that either. You're not safe anywhere anymore. They can use the same vans for your house, next to your house. It says that in this particular video in the article as well. So I'll put that up for you to peruse, just to let you know what's happening. And I don't expect any action on anything, because I think the public, to be honest with you, are too dumbed down. I think something's happened to their minds, on their diets and their injections. Exactly as Bertrand Russell said, they said it as compliant by the use of the needle. I think that's really been what's happening. After all, these guys at the top were backed by the richest people on the planet and their governments at very high levels. Do you realize that most governments have big secret departments that the politicians attend and are put into? They call them cabinets in Britain. And many of them are classified as secret. And they have the authority to implement big agendas on their populations. Well, they wouldn't ask for volunteers for sterilization or for dumbing down. They just go ahead and do it. And if you haven't realized now that Big Pharma is a part of the military-industrial complex, then it tells me that you've already been affected. They'll be this mission successful on you because you've been dumbed down by the proper means. And it's a sad war. This is a war, you understand? And the way that the big players talked about it, like the guys I've mentioned tonight, plus many others who were involved in this, the Huxleys, both the brothers and so on, they saw this as a war on the general public for the survival of the elite, the better type of genes. That's how they portrayed it in their books and in their lectures.